Greetings, my human friends. This is Rudolf of Germany, the tall white alien. Today is Friday the 13th, January 2017, and I would like to, before I start, apologize to my viewers and friends who sent me emails and even asked me questions in the comment section of this video channel. I simply didn't have any time to answer you, as much as I liked to. And then again, there are certain emails sent to me and questions asked which are simply not suited for being answered because of their silly or rather hateful content. This said, I would like to go straight into the subject of today. In about a week's time, Donald Trump will be the next president, the 45th President of the United States of America. And no president before him faced so much adversity, so much hatred from his own security and intelligence forces as he does. How can a president, a new president, a man with relatively or no political experience, bring change to the better, make decisions which have any kind of bearing in the United States internationally also, if his own security and intelligence forces see him as their biggest enemy? Not only that his life is in constant danger, and he has to deal with it, but also these intelligence services have put certain situations, lined up a certain group of situations for him, which he has to deal with from the very beginning of his presidency, which are almost impossible to take care of. I want to be a little more specific. I want to give you a geopolitical impression of that what is coming up. First of all, most of you who have followed the press know that there is an immense build-up of US and NATO forces on the borders of Eastern Europe facing Russia. Officially, these activities of sending troops and hardware to the very border facing Russia is being sold to the public as a protective measure and the way of keeping the Russians at bay in case they plan an invasion of the European Union. This is not so. The troops amassed at the borders of Eastern Europe have a purely offensive nature. That means they are employed there in case there will be a massive war breaking out, even worse than right now, in the Near East. And this war will include the Russians, which have to defend Syria against the ongoing aggressions from Israel. It is a master stroke of the American intelligence community, of the old guard, which is still clinging on to power which they have gained under the Clinton-Obama clan. These groups in the intelligence agencies have been working together with the Israeli secret services to create a very dangerous situation in the Near East. I have spoken in one of my prior videos about the danger of Israeli attacks onto the ground and onto facilities in Syria. This has happened again. In case Syria feels itself threatened, even more than now, and try to defend itself against Israel, these US Israeli intelligence forces will use this opportunity to start an outright war between Israel and Syria. The reason for it is manifold. First of all, in this case, Israel will get the opportunity to destabilize the Near East even further, which is the plan anyway for a greater Israel. At the same time, the American intelligence group, which is behind it, will split the warming conditions, the warming friendship which is building up between Israel and Russia. So there will be a stop into their relationships and will draw Russia to the defense of Syria against Israel, which then will trigger eventually a military reaction from the United States, which are the protectors of Israel. And this means on Syrian soil, a Syrian-Israeli war backed on the Syrian side by Russia and backed on the Israeli side by the United States, which in fact will be a war between the United States and Russia eventually. This situation made it necessary, because it's all planned ahead, for the United States and NATO to build up their military force in the Eastern European countries at the border of Russia, because this will be the second front which they have planned. If the war in Syria will heat up between Syria and Israel and Russia and the United States, they will, if the Russians are extremely involved in this war, they will open up a second front in Eastern Europe and try to attack Russia from this side. At the same time, they will also send into the Ukraine forces and will attack Russia and the Crimea. This is the plan of the deep government of the Obama-Clinton clan. This is the plan right now which they have in store to give Mr. Trump nothing to work with, because, first of all, he tried to make friends with Israel and Russia at the same time. But if Israel and Russia, through the situation in Syria, get into a conflict or war, Donald Trump has to side with one or the other. If he goes with Russia, he loses the Israeli support and the Jewish support in the United States, which is absolutely important to him. And if he sides with Israel against Russia in this conflict, in this war which is coming up, then the intelligence forces of the United States, the intelligence services, which are still on the side of Obama and Hillary Clinton, will have achieved that what was in their mind from the very beginning, to create a warlike situation, to create a conflict between Donald Trump and Russia. No matter what the outcome is, in the last day of the Obama administration, they set their interests in place and put Donald Trump in a situation where it's hardly to get out in a peaceful way. Just by triggering a war between Israel and Syria, Donald Trump will be between a rock and a hard place, because he cannot at the same time be a friend of Russia and Israel if both sides are in a conflict or even in a war. And all of this war scenario, which may even, as I said before, started to become a world war, because it will also include Europe and also the Crimea. All of this is very good in order to further enrich the war machine, the arms industry of the United States. And at the same time, while the United States arms industry and banks are stabilizing and getting richer, they have also created a scenario where hyperinflation, which I also spoke of before, will become rampant. Through hyperinflation, the dollar will be devalued, inflation goes up into the 20s and 30%. This again will bring down the debt level which the United States is extremely dangerously suffering under. Dear friends, nothing in politics happened without a reason. But just let's put the things together. Donald Trump will have a very hard time as a president. There is a war on its way. Donald Trump has to choose between his Israeli friends and the Russians. At the same time, the industry in the United States and banks, through a looming war, will enrich themselves tremendously, and through hyperinflation, a large amount of the American debt will be wiped out. And this is the intelligence report I made for you today, a little bit more lengthy, but I hope you understand why Israel is an aggressor right now in the Near East, and if Assad chooses to fight back and start to bomb parts of Israel, this will be, and watch this scenario, the beginning of the next world war, because then Russia has to side with Assad, and the United States, of the protector of Israel, have to fight on the side of Israel, and there we have the open conflict between Russia and the United States, which will then quite rapidly spread into Europe. The Americans put their troops already there for this event and not for defense. And then we all have the threat of a third world war, which can even lead to a nuclear disaster. Keep an eye on that. I will inform you in the future. Rudolf of Germany.